Yeah,
Good idea, that.
inshallah, no problem. You see, as you just said, that's what they all do here. They start
sorry.
and then expect
Sorry.
to finish it.
Sorry, brother. He's calling you there. Sorry.
Yeah, he's done it again.
Sorry, brother. I think we've got somebody there.
Yeah, I've seen a few videos of yours, and he had a few questions. I think the original
You're from the armed forces. Oh, Shabir was telling me about.
Yeah. So how do we know that a camera is
That he was going to go and talk or something, or you wanted him to go and talk.
I noticed a lot of
Whereabouts is that going to be found in London or
It's outside London. Do you know Army HQ at Andover?
That's all I'm saying.
Andover? I've heard of it, but where is Andover? Sorry.
It's
Just find that.
it's like
Make that easy.
outskirts of London, but further down.
That's a spurious claim.
Or going towards Bournemouth.
Yeah, stuff.
I was just
Down that way. Is it near the coast?
saying that
No, before the course. All the houses there, they're made out of straw. Be on the roof
they?
there.
we've been sent a message.
That'd be great, honestly.
I think is
So they're going to fire questions at him.
obviously,
Or...
which
Yeah, what
he's like, I can see the bird marks in
every
my
year
head.
they get the same speakers and people fire questions, and what it is, they get bored of it now. So I says, look, let's just excite it up a bit now.
I look at
Get
the camera.
Get somebody who knows what they're on about.
That's the camera. Well, the first question is who has defined and called it what we just called it, a camera. Yeah? Now it will become word games. Okay, so we will have a consensus that it is a camera. Yeah? Now if I were to ask, okay, where did you get that camera from? And he will tell me from Curry's. Let's not advertise the super stores, but Curry's.
Black now.
Okay? And I say, okay, fine, I'll go to Curry's, and I say to Curry's, whoever is there, the sales rep, who is trying to convince me to buy one, I said, but first, can you tell me where is it from? And he says, well, which one? I say, okay, this one, Sony. He says, well, the manufacturers are Sony. The sequence of events are okay up to now. So I will go to Sony Corporation, and I say, right, this thing, yes? So he tells me, right, don't worry about it, come in. And we go in, and he's going to show me a section where the screen is made, a section where this other bit is made, all the components, then he will take me to a central room where all the components are brought together, and he says, now, this is what we call a camera. So I ask myself, okay, I've just seen a sequence starting from here with me and you, and I took it right back to its point of origin. From the point of origin to where it is right now, did somebody make it?
Is that a question? You asked me, is that a question?
Yeah, if we ask ourselves, what would the answer be?
Yes, we will say that that's
Okay, if I say, okay, if, as you said, you know, the spurious connection that is being made, if I were to say reasonably, well, this seems to have been made by someone, and having seen everything around me, including myself, I may be able to safely conclude that there must be a maker of everything around me. Now, I'm trying to see the element which is spurious here, the connection. Yeah, what is that?
good. So, in order for us to do that, we have to compare that to something else. So you compared it to you compared it to the trees.
To everything.
So there's a comparison.
Yes.
When you go to the universe, how do you compare? You need something to compare that universe to. Because without that, it's not the same thing. So we have this to do a comparison. So that's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying that when we get to how did the universe come about, I'm not claiming absolutely there's no God. What I am saying is this claim is spurious because we've got a way to compare these two. We do not have a way to compare the universe. So as soon as you expand it to the universe, we would need a non-created universe, and then we could say, there's a non-created universe, now I know that this one is created, so we need something to compare it. So that's the category mistake that I notice people saying, and that's obviously you're a very knowledgeable guy, and I'm hoping people don't do that.
People keep saying.
I know, and I heard this. But I can hear it when we have a conversation, and so I'm hoping people stop using that analogy in that way. You could say it's an analogy, hey, it's like this, but don't make the leap, because you can't compare the universe to anything else, as far as we know.
Right, right. I can follow the reasoning, and I agree with it to a certain extent. But if I were to say, okay, let's address the universe.
Okay, but that's a separate claim. I'm happy to do that.
Because we are assuming we know when we use the word universe that we are all understanding what we mean. Okay? So it is absolutely everything that we can conceive of within what you call the natural world.
No.
Exactly. So we have a disagreement on the word itself. What would it be in your terms?
Okay, so everything that we can see, feel, understand, etc. in this realm. So the realm is that expanding universe, the 13 point. But 7 billion years.
But we know, even according to the researchers in this, people like Professor Krauss also will tell you that it is coming to a situation where after a few million years, it will have expanded to such an extent that all we are going to have is darkness and we will not be able to see anything beyond that. So the question therefore arises that when you say, okay, let's make a comparison with the universe the way we know it with something else, okay? For us to be able to confidently assert something like that, we would need to have known everything there is to know about the universe to be able to make a comparison.
But that's not the point that I'm making. You're making a different point to what I'm making. I'm saying that the claim, you can't substantiate it as the same thing. That's all I'm saying.
Right, I can agree with that.
Okay.
But is the comparison of the universe the same thing as understanding what the camera is?
It's just the analogy is what I'm saying. Shouldn't be used to go, hey, there's a creator of that, therefore there's a creator of the universe. Those words are not accurate, is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I can understand that. So if I can just understand what you mean when you say it's not accurate, in what way is it falling?
Because we haven't got the universe to compare to something else. So you say, presumably, that the universe is created. But you say the camera is created by a man. And I say to you, how do you know? You say, because other things out there are not created by man. So we've got a comparison.
I agree with you. Perfect. I agree. I think the distinction that was made when we were talking about it, I didn't use the word create. I said made. There is a distinction between the two. Because as far as I'm concerned, anything to be created would have to be done from things that are not available.
Okay, so that's your definition of created.
Yeah,
okay, fair
I
enough.
would say that.
Cool.
And anything other than that, as you rightly pointed out, anything within the universe, up to that boundary.
Expanding as far as
up to that boundary. Everything we can discover. There's a potential for us to discover.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the leap that you are talking about, if it is used in that sense, I would agree with you that no. You say that this is a camera, it was made by a human being, therefore the universe seems to have been made. But having said that, you see there seems to be a proviso here. I can only say what I say about the universe to the extent that I know about the universe. I can't say more than that.
Correct.
So if I base it on that, can I still say, well, I'm looking at the world and think, I think, you know what, somebody made all this. I can't say that.
Absolutely. Just don't use that as an analogy.
I think,
so if you could educate everybody here not to use that as an analogy, then you've got an absolute point. You can infer from this that this is all about God. Just stop using this.
No, I agree with you. But you know, at the end of the day, we all draw inferences from everything around us. Yeah. Me and you can agree to disagree.
Sure.
Shake hands, go and have a cup of tea, which you'll pay for. Yeah.
It's more expensive.
Well planned. Well planned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's it. But then we have started a process in which hopefully we'll go and research more and more.
Sure.
And that is what it is all about. Yes? Honestly, brother, I'm sorry, what is your name?
Rob.
Rob, I'm Shabir.
Shabir, good to
nice
meet you, my
meeting
friend.
you. Yeah, we come quite a few hundred miles only for that.
Oh, great.
So that we can expand our own knowledge.
Me too. So I'm not here claiming absolute knowledge. And if you make a good point, I will go away and find out. And if you've made a point that has not got an answer, or if there's no good reason, I will come and say to you, you know what, Shabir, you've got a good point. Nobody in the world has got an answer. And the only thing that I've found so far is solipsism. We won't go there necessarily. That's an unanswerable question. But let's do the universe, because I actually listened to Klaus coming in here on the thing. So give me your version, because obviously I'd say to you, why should I believe Islam? And every Muslim that I speak to here starts with, well, how did something come from nothing? That's typically how most people start. I see that would be your sort of go-to beginning point.
No, I'm awkward. I never do it so easily.
Be more awkward, yes.
I'll be just a bit simple. See, forget the universe, because what I cannot see, I cannot really judge it. Yeah? But there's an interesting verse in the Quran, which I looked at. It says, you know what, we human beings are going to be shown within the horizon, on the horizons and within ourselves until it is manifest that it is true. Now, what is true? Well, obviously, logic is dictating that the contents within the Quran are true. So what is it that it says? On a simplistic level, I'm taking this, yeah? So when it says certain things like the most common one that we are all familiar with, about alcohol, yeah, or intoxicants and their effects, okay, I look at the Quran and its guidance, and I find that the research that is being undertaken now is coming to those very same conclusions that the Quran had already informed humanity about. So, when I look at it, I think, right, okay, let's assume it is a coincidence, okay? But that is not all. Are there other aspects which I can look at and think, right, why is it saying X, Y, and Z? Yes? And each aspect that I'm looking at, and looking at the necessary research, and the odd thing is that the Quran merely confirms that. It says that we will show you until it is manifest to you that this is the truth. Yeah. Now, as far as the universe is concerned in this question, can you make something out of nothing? Well, logic dictates that the Creator made something out of nothing. So there isn't a problem with me there. Yeah. So it's not an issue at all. Having said that, I start looking at whatever evidence we have, let's say in cosmology. Okay. So far, there is nothing that is being said which precludes a creator.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So what options are there? Because a lot of guys say, oh, it came from nothing. My understanding, you tell me, because obviously you've done some work on it as well, is it isn't strictly nothing. There was a small, let's call it the size of a marble, or baseball, they say, whatever it is. There was something that was incredibly dense, small, etc., and that suddenly expanded. That's the limit of our knowledge currently. Everything else is speculation. So that to me isn't a nothing. But a lot of the people say, oh, how did something come from nothing? So my question really, this is really a question, you know, tell me what's wrong with that in the sense that science tells us there was something there. They don't say there was nothing there necessarily. They could, we can talk about it. But there was something small there and it expanded. That's as far as we can go. You are presumably claiming that before that something, if there is such a term, it's almost could be nonsensical, but let's assume there was a, before that,
yes,
there was a creator of something. That's presumably your view.
No, how I would look at it, and you are right, okay? If our understanding is taking us to a point where there was something, yes, and you somehow stated that although it may sound nonsensical, but the mere fact that you are able to conceive of something beyond that would suggest to you that there may be something beyond that. Operative word being made. Okay?
Sure.
Because whatever we are going to be discussing right now is speculative.
Correct.
Yeah? So I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Whatever it is, okay, the question is, what do we know? Can we address the universe on the things we do know rather than speculating on things that we do not know?
Sure.
So in that respect, I have no problem. So
you obviously come down to Allah, we won't use that, we'll say God, because there's a process involved to getting to there. The Creator is the only option or the most reasonable option? Because that's a big difference, isn't it?
There is you see, when you say the only option, one has to think, if we use the word Creator, yes, and then we use the universe as a created entity, then by definition anything else you say other than what you said will be unreasonable.
No, sorry, I meant that as your point.
Yeah?
So, sorry.
I see.
So it was a question.
Don't worry about it. Oh well, I never saw that. Okay. So to me it doesn't matter. I know one thing. Anything that we have researched, as I said to you, yes, so far as I am aware, I don't know of anything which precludes a creator. So now if you are going to say, okay, let's take it back to that single point, I say, okay, not a problem. Shall we assess the evidence that is available and base our reasonable conclusions on the evidence rather than going on speculation?
Cool.
So now I'm saying on the basis of evidence, there is nothing that says to me that you can preclude a creator. Over and above that, even if we take it back to this, single point, yeah. I'm sure you would have read Professor Klaus's book, A Universe from Nothing.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, okay. How does he explain nothing?
The absence of time, space. So that's a scientific
No,
method.
the absence of time and space, the absence of time and space can actually come to that point, what we talk about, where physics ceases, yeah? What I'm saying, when he said a universe came out of nothing, what nothing, how did he define nothing?
The absence of time and space.
That's it, the absence of everything?
Everything as in we understand everything, yes.
Right. Absolutely everything?
How's the difference? What's the difference?
Right. There's a difference here. Because you see, he talks about vacuums. Okay? I ask you this. If I say...
Be careful though, what does he actually say about vacuums?
Yes, exactly. Not only that, if I say, okay, you know what, somebody asks me, what are you doing? And I say nothing. What do I mean?
Yes, absence of action, probably.
Probably absence
But you're
of
always
action.
doing,
Even I
you're always
don't
doing
know
something, correct?
Even I don't know myself because I'm thinking.
So you're doing something.
Something is happening. Yes,
There's always
I'm doing something. Now, if we take this to that point of the universe, was there nothing?
What point?
At this point that we just discussed, you know, so far
Before the little thing, or
no, you can't say before.
that little thing is there.
That little thing, yes. Is that nothing?
That's not nothing.
So, when he says a universe from nothing, what did he actually mean?
The absence of space and time.
Yeah, that's all. But he didn't mean literally everything the way we would conceive of it. Yeah. So the question is this: if,
Okay. What part did he not? What part did he not mean?
no, here is what I'm saying. You see, the definition of nothing we can't agree on. Yeah.
Correct.
If we say absence of time and space only, is that all nothing is?
But you tell me.
Yeah,
Because it's a
because-
concept that we can't. We can talk about it, but we can't
That's the point.
conceptualize.
So what I'm trying to say is, look, all these elements we can discuss till the cows come home, saying, yes?
Correct.
So what we have to do is look at the evidence which we can assess, which we can formulate a conclusion from. Now, that evidence is what I am pointing to and saying, so far as that evidence is concerned, I do not see anything in terms of the evidence that is accessible which precludes a creator.
Okay, so you seem to be different from some of your colleagues. So you seem to say that chance, at least chance, is another option. Do you agree with that or not?
Well,
is it possible that it could have come by chance?
there is a possibility of everything, but the evidence will show which one is the appropriate one.
Okay, so what is?
So even if you tell me, look, is there a possibility that by chance it came? I would say yes, it is. Okay, now how are you going to define chance? Random. Okay.
I'm not saying it's the only option.
No,
I'm
I
just saying
understand.
because you
It
seem
can
to
be.
say that
Yeah.
that the creator is, in your mind, kind of the only option. Is that
But I
not true?
haven't said that.
Oh, okay.
And all I have, if you listen, I think you're coming with preconceived ideas here, respectfully. Yeah. What I am saying to you is, look, why don't we look at the evidence? Now, I have said what I have known. Okay. So if I look at the Earth, the way it had formed, whether it was there was a third planet that hit the moon and the Earth came to whatever it may be.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, whatever evidence you provide, which we can assess together, is not going to preclude a creator. If you come in and tell me, look, there is a possibility that it may have been done by chance, I would say, okay, fine. Let's define the word chance, and then let's assess the evidence and see whether it fits whatever we agreed on.
So, can you share with me then the evidence for the creator, so that the creator is the, should I use the word best explanation?
You certainly can use that phrase, not a problem at all.
Okay, so-
yeah, like I said, if I were to look at it, and I did mention at the start that the Quran talks about things within the Quran, and then you make a comparison with the research and we come to it. So, if I came to a particular statement in the Quran, which may be vague, okay, and it says to me that, look, everything seems to have been together. Yes? I'm using the word loosely, together. Yes, the heavens, the earth, whatever, the way it is described, okay? And it comes to a point where everything then was expanded on. I'm using terminology that we can understand, okay? If there's a statement in the Quran that is saying that, and I look at the evidence currently, we look at how scientists have developed the idea of an explosion, but we use the word explosion not in a random fashion, but an expansion.
Expansion's a better word.
Okay? That is what is used. Okay? Now, if the verse is telling me that, look, this is how the beginning of the universe was undertaken, and I then do study, and I find evidence, research, evidence seems to be pointing me towards exactly that, okay, then I am left with the question, how did this particular individual use this? How was it in the mind of this person at a time when evidence like the one that we have today, yes, required a lot of effort by thousands of people and also very advanced equipment, yeah? just one example I'm giving, yeah? And as I said about the alcohol one also, yeah? Because the Quran is a message which has got various facets of information, of knowledge, yeah? And each one that I am assessing, yes, based on the evidence that is available, it's passing. So now the question is this, that if I have got something that is telling me, look, this is the information, this is the evidence that you are going to find through your research.
So almost like prophecy.
Yeah? No, I wouldn't use the word prophecy. Yeah? But you are going to find it because it is describing what we would call the natural world. Yeah? If that evidence is there, and that evidence is clearly pointing to those facts that are contained in the Quran, then I can ask a speculative question. How did we know? Yes? Where can I find the answer? I'll look at the history of the individual concerned, what we know. Again, it is based on the evidence that is available.
Okay, let me just stop you there because I just want to check in. So is your methodology for finding out what's true, looking at the Quran and then looking for evidence? Is that how you do it?
No.
How do you do it?
It works both ways sometimes. I will have seen something, okay? Then I ponder over it. Yeah, I'll look at some evidence. Yeah. For example, just an example. A few weeks ago, there was an article which I was reading about this mother who had given her son for adoption. Yeah. And after many years, they came back together. Yes. Now the attachment was such that they formed a relationship between them. They are aware of it. Yes. She knows he's the son knows she's the mother. But they are having an intimate relationship. Now the psychologists are trying to establish exactly what is going on here. Yeah. Obviously there seems to be some affinity. Okay. If you want that piece of information, by all means we'll exchange.
Okay, I'm just wondering how that relates.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, how do we define this? Do we define this as incest? How would we define it? So I would look at this and think, right, okay, what is happening here? I am aware that certain kinds of relationships are not right, what I have been brought up with. Okay? Then I think, okay, if I'm going to use this information, can I see what this particular book says? Because it claims a certain thing. So I want to make a comparison. Now if, for example, the Quran is going to tell me, right, X, Y, and Z are permissible for you to marry, okay? I would then want to know, okay, why are those excluded, okay? Whenever we do anything here, we will tell a child not to cross the road when the cars are coming very fast. Why?
Give a good reason, correct. So you're looking for
the child won't understand that reason, yeah? But why do we still give that child that
because
information?
there's the potential for negative consequences.
Exactly. So we would look at whatever is the potential for negative consequences. So we are looking at relationships. Is there potential for negative consequences? There may be. But who, other than the Creator, would be able to inform us of what the definitive solution ought to be? So it isn't, as you rightly pointed out, many people will say, right, this is what the book says, now I'm going to compare everything against the book.
Well, that's what presumably you seem to be doing.
But there's only one difference. If I'm basing it on evidence, is there a problem?
Yes. Well, let me ask. So I would say yes in this particular way. Is it possible that by reading you have a particular view that you want to hold on to? So you have because let's say I read the Book of Mormon.
Yes.
And now I read the book and I went out and I looked in the world.
Yes.
Is it possible that I might be a little bit more filtered towards the Book of Mormon, and so something that somebody externally looked at, I would be less likely to be objective because I've now read the book and I'm kind of going out looking. I've got it in my mind. I can't separate it. I believe in a book of which I don't, but just as an example.
I understand.
So I go out there and I look in the world and I go, oh, because we as human beings, as we understand, through a lot of psychological testing, we remember the things that are hits, that match what we want to believe, and we forget the misses. This is how psychics work. So anybody who believes in psychics, it's not demonstrable. And so when you don't look at it, psychics don't work under test conditions. So when you test them, you see they don't work. And so because people forget when they're wrong and they only remember when they're right. And so my question, is it possible that if you use the book then you're not entirely objective. So could it be that I, for example, could be a little bit more objective than you when I look at some evidence?
Definitely the possibility is there. However, having said that, I would ask this. If I am going to make a comparison, firstly, of the evidence to formulate my conclusion, is that wrong?
As long as you're not using the book first.
Like I said, if I use this example, I said I went there first, assessed it, and I made a comparison between how other relationships are used, okay? I do that and then I see, okay, does this have something to say about it, okay? I don't see any subjectivity here, okay? But what I do see is this, that if we have all a consensus that black is black, yeah? No amount of reasoning, yeah, is going to change black into blue, yeah? So, my contention would be here is that what the facts are will remain facts. No amount of, twisting and turning is going to change that.
Correct. We've got to be careful what the facts are, but yes, I agree with you. What
you see,
that facts are.
You see, you are so entirely correct here. You see, the moment I use the word facts, we would have difficulty even accepting on a general level what we mean by the word facts. Okay? So there's a whole plethora of information. How do we determine which one is true? Now, if I were to turn this around and ask you, okay, I want you to give me an all-inclusive yardstick for a human being to determine how he ought to live. What would it be?
So I would use the Sam Harris model, which is the well-being of conscious creatures. And there's various things behind it. Have you read that one?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I haven't. But when you talk about the well-being of conscious creatures, since you have read it, have you read it?
Yes, mostly.
Mostly, not all of it. Okay, let me ask you this. The well-being of a conscious creature, the example that I just gave about the mother and the son, where would it fit in yours?
So we'd have to evaluate it, wouldn't we? So we'd have to look at it. And ideally, science is a tool, probably one of the best tools which we can evaluate. And we can go, what happens on the biological and physiological level? And then we can evaluate, is this, quote, good or not good?
Okay.
And we can compare that against heterosexuals, gays, etc. Now we can potentially, in principle, come up with an answer, not necessarily in practice.
Yep. So, according to what you just said, this relationship has been addressed on a genetic level. And that is why a lot of people, a lot of scientists are going to tell you that, look, first cousin marriages are inadvisable. Why?
Yes, from a breeding genetic point of view.
And if it is a mother and a son?
Just as bad, I understand. I'm not a geneticist.
I understand. But if it is just as bad, okay, on a psychological level, the two individuals concerned, yes, the word well-being you use,
yes,
they find it very comfortable in this relationship. Is there anything wrong with it?
If we're using well-being as a yardstick, yes, there would be something wrong with it.
So when Sam Harris uses that, what ultimate yardstick does he use?
So the well-being of conscious creatures.
But we've just used one example and it doesn't seem to be fitting.
You asked me, you said they think it's okay. What do I say?
Yes.
And I say based on well-being, which we can use science as a tool of, we can demonstrate that that's not as good as something else.
Now, is that based on evidence?
You mean the science part of it?
Well, I think I must clarify something. My view is that the word science, okay, if you take it back to its origin, means merely knowledge.
Scientific method.
Yeah. There's a distinction between the two. I would agree. Okay, but as far as the methodology is concerned, what I am pointing out to you is that for us to conclude whether this fits within the category of well-being, we are going to have to assess the evidence, aren't we? That is my point of view from start. That look, let's assess the evidence. Now here is a pointer. If, for example, Sam Harris says X in a book, just as an example, okay, and you have read that book, and then you find evidence which agrees with the book, are you biased?
If I find evidence that agrees with the book, am I biased? I could be, it's possible.
You could be. So it's something that afflicts all human beings?
To some degree, yes.
It does. But here is the how I would view it. Yeah? You see, that one example I used of the relationship.
Yeah.
Now, if we just expand that a bit more, and we say, you see, intoxicants are one of the most damaging.
I agree with you. Let's use something where we disagree, because I agree with you on that. How about gay marriage?
Yeah.
give me the same argument with gay marriage. I'm not gay, but I'm just interested because you've used the incest, which I agree with. You've used intoxicants, I agree with.
Yeah.
We can scientifically show that that's not good for you. And you're going, but the Quran says that, therefore the Quran is quite wise. I agree with those examples. Let's use an example where we disagree. And now do the same thing.
Right, okay. Well, the first thing is you mentioned gay marriage.
Yeah, use that as an example.
Let's use that as an example. What is the definition of marriage?
Currently, I'm guessing in this country it's between a man and a woman. It's a union between a man and a woman.
Is that the definition that is agreed or via consensus around the world?
In most countries, yes. So you're equivocating on the word marriage.
I'm not equivocating at all. I'm just following your example that you raised. Now let's just follow it through. You see, on a simplistic level, somebody asked me, and honestly, this happened, okay? Somebody asked me, what is